I love rooibos. I love rooibos. Oh, I love reading. I'm so excited. It is the first night of the stay home reading rush. So I'm about to curl up in bed and read, but before I do so, I'm gonna make myself a pot of this red tea, Good Hope vanilla. This is rooibos tea. So the book I'm going to begin my reading rush with is this one, Everyday Enchantments by deblassie. And it is a collection of essays, so I figured it'd be a nice one to do in the nighttime. I also have my tea, but it is way too hot to sit with. These are extremely short essays. I would say they're like 2 to 3 pages max. These are more like little meditations, I would say, than fully formulated essays. They're little momentary escapes, explorations.
Caught me at the wrong time, no relying on me now if you can help it. Time, even on a better day, let's just shove it. Or maybe take it slowly, just knowing we can disappear right now. Fight through all these feelings, just feeling what's real. Lost another day, talking who did what before, and who can help it. Had a couple friends tell me why this all should end, so let's just shelf it. I'll do it all on my own again. Just do it all.
Finished this book, Everyday Enchantments. This is a pretty fast read. I started it last night before I went to bed, read about 50 pages, and then today knocked out the other 100. It's about 3 p.m. on Thursday. I will say the things I loved about it were the descriptions of some of the parts of Albuquerque and just New Mexico and New Mexican culture that I really miss from home. So moments with roadrunners or coyotes, or, you know, folk tales like La Llorona, or red chili, descriptions of cooking. Those were really vibrant. Descriptions of monsoons. The parts of this book that I didn't love as much were that it was a little repetitive. I could count on almost every story having a cup of herbal tea and picking things from your garden and moving through yoga, or taking off your shoes and feeling the earth on your feet. And all of these things are beautiful things, but it wasn't so much that each meditation was on something new, so much as a larger meditation almost on ways to nourish yourself, ways to lean into the things that feel good. I also didn't realize it was going to be quite as new agey as it was. It definitely has a very specific perspective, which is what she was going for. I also it was interesting, the writing style I felt was a little uneven. There were sentences that just took my breath away, or that would really resonate with me, passages that I would really resonate with and enjoy savoring as I read them. And there were others that I just, even in my mind, my little editor's eye would go through, and I could see how they would have been stronger with a culling of some of the language. I think all in all, I'd give it a 3 out of 5. I liked it. What I'm gonna read next, I think, is Squeezed, which was the book with the house on the cover, Why Our Families Can't Afford America. And this will just bring me crashing back down into reality. So anyway, 3 out of 5, first book done, first day, half done. I am itching to get outside, so we may go take a drive, sit and read in the car, looking over some beautiful LA Vista, and let you know how the next book goes. Okay. We went on an adventure to walk the dog, get me out of the house because I was going crazy, and I picked up a special treat, so I can show you that too. This is so delicious. It's a half pitaya, half acai bowl with granola. Hey guys, I am almost done with this book. One more chapter and that'll be 2 books in the first day of the reading rush. So I'm gonna read this chapter and then I'll let you know what I thought of the whole book. Okay, so I just finished Squeezed, Why Our Families Can't Afford America by Alissa Quart. It was really interesting. I, as you might be able to see, highlighted pages and pages of it. I was expecting it to be less. It meant, when it said families, it really meant families. It focused a lot on childcare costs and parenting and paid time off and that dynamic, which I wasn't expecting as much of, which is from the perspective that she is writing. She's also a parent. So it was really interesting. I think I'd give it a 3.5 out of 5. It was journalistic in its writing, but I didn't always love her writing style. I think I'm a little bit picky when it comes to how things are written, or that means makes a big difference to me. I would recommend it, especially if you are a parent, especially if you're feeling squeezed, as the cover and the title imply. It's good to at least know you're not alone, that there are larger forces basically conspiring against you, and there are some things that we can do that other countries have done. Totally doable policies that we could enact. That's it. That's my second book of the day. So I've officially read Everyday Enchantments and Squeezed today. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do for the day. This is where I'm going to leave you for the night. I finished my tea. I'm going to have one of these Unreal dark chocolate almond butter cups. I love them. They're so good. Night, y'all. See you tomorrow. Good morning. It is Friday morning and I've got my tea. I've got my book that I'm going to read all in one place. This is the place right here. We'll see how long I can do it for, and I'd love for you guys to read with me. I'm excited to get into this. It'll be a little different. I'm realizing a lot of the books I'm reading for this challenge are nonfiction. They're all nonfiction books. So Everyday Enchantment is a collection of like musings and essays. Squeezed is sort of a journalistic expose. This is a nonfiction book about clinical, it's like a more clinical book about different patients this man has had. And then The Gifts of Imperfection is a self-help book. It's like the perfect reading morning, guys. It's, oh God, it's like cloudy, it's a little chilly. Hopefully that will get me through this book. going on in this complex, but I'm 3/4 of the way through this. I am reading it inside my apartment, but it's a little exhausting. It's a slower go today. So I stood outside for a little bit to soak up some sunshine. Look at these clouds, guys. Get out. This is as far outside as I'm getting for a little while. I'll finish this and then I'll let you know how I feel. Okay. Almost done. Okay, so I finished this book. This was written in the 80s, and you could really tell that with a lot of the language used to describe a lot of these mental conditions. The language used is very much of that time. They were still referring to people basically as their mental neurological conditions. So they called people with Tourette's Touretters, or he calls people with Parkinson's Parkinsonians, like they're Bostonians, they're Parkinsonians. And that was a little bizarre to me to read and to realize. Just the way that things were thought of as like defects, or people were damaged or broken or damned, was a little, I just think that we've had a big shift in consciousness around both disability and mental illness and combinations of the two, and how we think about them and how we talk about people who experience these things. The way that he does so, again, it almost feels like his intended audience are his peers and not necessarily the general public. Even so, the stories were so interesting, and while some of it was a little clinical and a little detached, therefore, and cold, he really does, you can tell he cares about these people. So I think again that those ideas have evolved over the past 40 years, that the conversations around things like consent, especially in medicine, has evolved. The ideas around, language and what treats people as people primarily, and not just their disorder or condition or circumstance. And so I think that in that way, I really saw this as a product of its time. Yeah, so all in all, I think I would give this another 3.5 out of 5. I liked it. I had some issues with it. I also had some issues like understanding the full extent of some of the jargon. That is now done. 3 out of 4 books done. We're on day 2 of this whole shebang. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Buried burdens, I'm letting go.
Good morning. It's like 6:30 in the morning. I'm sitting outside of my apartment. I think I'm gonna read a little bit. The air is so cool and crisp.
Do we know the power they hold?
Okay, so it's about 8 a.m. and I am 2/3 of the way done with this. I'm so tired, but I can't sleep, so I'm just embracing the day. This book is really moving, and it's helpful, and it's illuminating, and it's scary. And it's funny, this is the book I chose to make me smile, and it does, but I've also cried like 3 times this morning. So I'm gonna finish this. So it is 9:15-ish. I have finished The Gifts of Imperfection, which is crazy because originally I set my alarm for 9 a.m. today, and it's only 15 minutes after I thought I was going to be waking up, and I've already finished the book that I wanted to read today. It's amazing what waking up at 6 a.m. will do. So the last time we talked, it was a couple of hours ago. I was exhausted. And since then, I've made coffee, which is not something I make very frequently. Oh, but it is delicious. Let's talk about the gifts of imperfection. So, this book was on my list to fill the read a book that will make you smile challenge. And I sort of broadly took that as like a book that will improve your well-being. And this book did make me smile. Brene Brown is quite funny, so there are moments where I smiled and laughed, but I also cried. I cried this morning reading this book. I've been realizing I've been avoiding a lot of introspection lately because life is kind of scary and uncertain, and I feel really vulnerable and exposed, and a lot of the things that I rely on to ground myself are gone. A lot of my routines are gone. A lot of the things that add to my idea of who I am are on pause, potentially indefinitely. And there's a lot going on in here right now. And there's a lot going on out there right now. And so this book brought me to my knees. This is my first 5 of this read. It's written beautifully. It's incredibly accessible. It's not fiction. It's not narrative, but it is, you get a lot of her story. This book is all about this idea of a wholehearted life. And she talks about these guideposts. She has 10 guideposts. There's cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. That one I really need to work on. That guidepost 4 is cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. Especially right now, I'm feeling scarce. I'm feeling scarce with finances. I'm feeling scarce with time. I'm feeling scarce with energy and motivation. This time is unbelievably uncertain. When will we be able to go outside again? When will we be able to work again? When will we be able to go to the grocery store without fear? When will we be able to have long walks on the beach with our friends, or, weddings or birthday parties? When are we going to be able to feel stable again? There's a whole lot of uncertainty right now. I just want to take a moment and say, if you're having a hard time, if you're anxious or depressed or stressed or fearful about the world, that's okay. And I am too. And I'm going to attempt to bring in a little bit of resilience and joy and gratitude and calm and rest and play and self-compassion. And I'm gonna fail. And then sometimes I'm gonna succeed. But I just wanna know, I want you to know, whoever's out there, whether you're my friends or my family or new friends or strangers, that we're all in this together in a real, not High School Musical way, that the world is facing a global trauma, that we are all struggling, regardless of what it looks like online, and that we will get through this, that there will be great losses of human life and of jobs and economies and of even goals and dreams, but there will also be strength and community and resilience. And today I choose to cultivate that. And then on Monday, we start again. So cheers. I hope you're well. Take care.